With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
If you're in the market for investment-worthy bags, watches, and fine jewelry, Rebag is the answer. Rebag is a luxury resale marketplace where each piece is carefully vetted and verified by experts to ensure quality and authenticity. If you're in the market, use Rebag to buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Head to Rebag.com to get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. Shop today at Rebag.com. That's REBAG.com. And use promo code REBAG10 for 10% off your first purchase.
Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, GoPowerCat.com's Kansas State Athletics Show. Now, here's your host, GoPowerCat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to this week's edition of the PowerCat Questions Podcast. Tim Fitzgerald, Zach Carlson, Ryan Gilbert, and Cole Carmody. You got the whole team here. No more teaching kids this week for Cole. He's here with us, which is probably about the same thing as teaching kids.
Yeah.
We're sponsored by the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Don't take the kids there for holiday shopping. Take yourself there for holiday shopping. You know that the family's going to screw up what you want for the holidays. It's just that beautiful bottle of bourbon or that nice, clean vodka. Or maybe you're one of those people who likes a nice wine. I'm not going to judge you for being a Texas fan, but if you like to sip the wine, they can help you there. They can help you all you want right there at the Fridge. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the Fridge's Black Friday sale, there's something weird going on this year where like all of their Pappy bottles and everything else that usually is there is shipping late to the stores. So they have a selection of bottles for Black Friday. And I'm telling you, their bourbon sale on Black Friday is an event. People camp out to be first in line. Literally, you drive by there on Thanksgiving, you will see cars, vans, and motorhomes. You'll see people camped out, tailgating basically at the Fridge on a day they're closed to be there in line when they open for Black Friday. But this year, because those bottles aren't going to be there, they will also have a sign-up sheet that'll put you in line for that sale when everything gets in. Make sure you check out the Fridge. Their Black Friday bourbon selection is unbelievable. They got some Blantons in this one, and I was just eyeing it like, man, if I really wanted to have a bottle of bourbon, I'd go do that. The Fridge is very cool. If you're not shopping at the Fridge, you are missing out. And if you're not listening to the PowerCat podcast, you missed that out. You just didn't hear that at all.
And you can join Go PowerCat.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I got so excited to talk about my sponsor's Black Friday sale. I didn't talk about our Black Friday sale. And it's ongoing. If you're not a subscriber to GoPowerCat.com, now is the time. Our Black Friday sale is live at 24/7. It's across the 24/7 Sports Network. So if you're an Iowa State fan listening to this, your folks at the Iowa State side, Alec and all those guys, they got it going. I said Alex, and I always do it. It's Alec. His family couldn't afford the X, so they had to settle for a C. It's okay, Alec. We love you. Alec, of course, covered K-State for a while, and then now is at Iowa State. No matter what your school is on the 24/7 network, you can get 75% off now through the end of the sale, which I believe is Tuesday at midnight Eastern. So you got some time, but don't mess around and forget. Just get on over to Go PowerCat. Get your 75% off an annual subscription to Go PowerCat right now. Get it done. We always blow up these sales. We always are one of the 24/7 leaders in these sales. Let's do it again. Also, if you're not doing anything on Saturday, there are somehow 300 tickets available for this game. Plus, there'll be, honestly, a lot of tickets on resale. But this game is not sold out, people. I thought every game was sold out this season. This one is not yet, but it's very close. Get your tickets to Saturday's game. It's Farmageddon. And as Zach said, it could be a snow globe game. We could have big, fat snowflakes falling on the field. Great memories of that for K-State fans. And I will be safely inside the press box watching all of you get cold.
I'll report
Thank you.
for us down from the field.
Hopefully we don't get in any trouble being down on the field for the game.
No, that's a whole different topic. Whole different topic. You try to follow the rules, and the man still yells at you. Let's get going with your questions from Wabash Station. I don't know who's asking them, but they're going to be really good questions being asked. Who's got
I
it?
can tackle first half since it's more football.
We can
let
do
you
that.
guys cook.
Let's go.
All right.
Ryan Gilbert, fresh off his Caribbean vacation in the Bahamas. He'll have some basketball answers for us. And Cole Carmody's here, and he was at the Abolition Bowl on Saturday in my stead. Thank you very much. Let's go.
From Momo Cat, if the home and away games were switched, would K-State be undefeated?
This was just on my walk and talk. Yeah, it's interesting. They have clearly played their toughest opponents on the road. Even in the non-conference, as good as Troy was, Missouri's good. Played them on the road, Texas on the road. Would Texas Tech be better than any of the teams K-State's played at home? Maybe not Troy, maybe. But you can make an argument they would be. Kansas, certainly. It's wild. K-State has blown the doors off everyone, particularly in the Big 12. But let's be honest, they've played the weaker teams at home. And if they'd played them on the road, would they have lost 3 games or 2 games in the conference? I don't think so.
Doubt it.
I don't think so. Maybe they lose to Texas at home. They did last year, but they beat Oklahoma State at home. I can guarantee that.
Every road game was one possession.
It was crazy.
Every loss that they've had this year has been one possession.
1 possession, 14 total points. And that includes
Pretty impressive.
Just an awful performance at Oklahoma State. I don't like to discredit teams beating a team. Missouri beat K-State. They made enough plays that they, let's be blunt, they deserved that 61-yard field goal because K-State's defense had been trashed the whole game. At Texas came out and they were ready for business. They started well. They dominated a quarter and a half of it, half another quarter over K-State. They were probably the better team from wire to wire, but K-State could have won that, and they should have won that. But Oklahoma State, they just stunk it up. They just weren't locked in. But that was still only an 8-point loss, and they had the ball to try to tie it up. So, yeah, answer your question is, yeah, I think K-State would be in a really good situation right now.
Can I be devil's advocate?
Oh, the devil needs an advocate this time of year.
I think UCF would be tough on the road.
Well,
That would be the only home game that I would say would be tough. Now, I actually agree with this question, and I do think K-State would be undefeated because they have played the bottom of the conference at home. And I don't think that you're worried about going to Houston. I don't think you're worried about going to a TCU team that you beat 41-3. I don't think you're worried about going to Waco. Are you a little worried about going to Orlando in the 4th game of the season after UCF had just pounded everybody and then miraculously lost to Baylor? I think you'd be a little bit worried, but I think they would win that game. But I agree, man, like this team, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but they're just as talented. They're just as good as they were last year. And if they ultimately don't make the Big 12 championship, it is literally going to be because of who they played at home and who they played on the road. That's literally why.
Yeah. Another thing to think about, if they reversed Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, let's say keep them on the road, would it be the same results? Would K-State have beat Texas Tech and would K-State have lost Oklahoma State? Because I think if you get into the problem, I don't want to say problem, but the scenario that happened at Texas Tech where Avery Johnson gets put into the game and he goes completely off, I think that was probably some of the problem at Oklahoma State. They were reluctant to play him. If you play Avery against Oklahoma State, and if you played Avery against Texas Tech, and if that happened before Oklahoma State, do you put Avery in against Oklahoma State, and are they able to run a little better and have a more dynamic offense? I don't know. I think you could even, keep the schedule the same, home and away, but just reverse the weeks, and you might have a little bit different outcome there too.
Yep.
The only thing that I would add is even those wins to KU and Texas Tech, K-State still was trailing in the second half of those games. Obviously, good teams do find ways to win. Credit the Cats for winning those games. But, if you do go play against UCF, for example, on the road, would that go the same? Obviously, K-State could be in a position to win late, but I don't have much of a reason to believe that wouldn't be a stiff challenge for this team.
If ifs, ands, and buts were candy and nuts, then we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
It's not even Thanksgiving yet, and he's talking about Christmas.
I don't even know what to do with him. I have no idea what to do with him. But, yes, I do think they'd be better. And for the UCF question, it just depends on when you play them. You play them in the same slot and they're without their starting quarterback. I'd say advantage K-State. But they're much better with, what's his name, John Reese Plumlee? Did I get that right?
I don't know.
Well, not just UCF, though. I mean, TCU and Fort Worth would not be easy, in my opinion.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I can't figure them out for the life of me.
Colorado won there. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. That's hard to explain. In hindsight, that is very hard to explain.
September was a wild month.
Right. From Kat in Colorado. I'm sure he was watching that game. Do you think Avery Johnson has been shut down for the year by the coaching staff to avoid injury or maintain his confidence? Will is playing well, and Avery's post-Texas Tech appearances have decreased in number and effectiveness.
No, I mean, I just think this is a matter of the defenses have sort of figured out Avery, but also you can't deny how good Will's played.
Yeah.
You don't take a guy off the field that's playing as well as Will. Like Saturday, he wasn't the greatest Will Howard version of Will Howard, but he rallied the troops. He rallied the troops at Texas. And I thought they were going to make a change in both games. They didn't. And thank goodness they didn't, because Will was the right guy. Avery will get his time. You can argue that maybe when they have played Avery, they're not using him right. They're not trusting him enough, and I'm all in on that. I would love to see this game, which it probably won't, being Farmageddon, it's usually a one-possession game, turn into somewhat of a blowout so we can see more of Avery. But Will is the quarterback of this team. He has made that clear. I don't look. I'm as obsessed with Avery as anyone else and his upside. But you don't take an effective quarterback off the field because you kind of want to see this guy. You think he's really good. There's no denying his future is bright. Who said it? The upside of Avery Johnson's the Heisman Trophy. I mean, that's how good he is. You know, he may not get there, but that was you doing it.
I think so.
Yeah. But he's not there, folks. Yeah, he needs some more time to mature in the system. Yeah, there's been a few times when, why don't you put in the backups? And they don't. I get all that. But no, I mean, you're just not going to do that. You just, no.
The reason why Avery hasn't played is because Will's thrown for 14 touchdowns and 2 interceptions over the last 5 games. He's also ran for 2 more. This isn't hard. Will has played really well. They have not needed to put Avery Johnson into the game. Could they have benefited from putting Avery into the game? Sure. But have they needed to? No. Will has figured it out, and he has been the best quarterback in the second half of the Big 12. Period.
And who do you want with K-State down with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter? Do you want a true freshman quarterback leading the comeback, or do you want your trusty veteran who's been there before and has done it multiple times? Give it to Will Howard. I mean, he proved himself again multiple times on Saturday why he's the quarterback. And it's great that he's playing well. Since Texas Tech, it's great that he is playing well, because, you know, if he didn't come back after that Texas Tech game against, you know, if he didn't come back against TCU, quite frankly, both quarterbacks played great against TCU. But Will Howard needed that game for his confidence, and he played well. You know, either quarterback, you know, if you eliminate the other one, they both win that game because K-State's defense was so good. So, you know, I think it's great that Will Howard has played well since that Texas Tech game, and there's no reason to take him off the field, even though, as you said, you know, the Avery Johnson hype is real. We all want to see him at some point, but Will's got the hot hand right now, and you can't take him off.
I think what Avery Johnson did at Texas Tech made Howard certainly a better quarterback. An interception, at least one interception in each of K-State's first 5 games, and there was a lot of momentum growing for Johnson to take his job, right? And so I think Howard looked at himself in the mirror and said, yeah, I've got to be better. This is not my job. I'm not the bona fide number 1 starting quarterback. This guy's right here on my tail. I've got to be better. I've got to take more care of the football. And certainly, Cole, you said that 2 interceptions over the last 5 games. He's valued the ball a lot more, and he's obviously taking chances, but he's not taking too many chances like we saw early on.
I don't think those interceptions were on him, by the way. The one to Keegan Johnson at Texas hit his hands, and the fact that there wasn't a flag thrown on the interception to Ben Sinnott is absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
Ben Sinnott was tackled before the ball was even thrown, and they didn't throw a flag. I actually think that's why Will threw it. We've seen quarterbacks do that. But, yeah, Will's been good, and that's why Avery hasn't been playing. It has nothing to do with them trying to keep him healthy or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, Will was hobbling around again on this game, and I thought maybe we'd see Avery, but I'm going to trust the guys who see this in practice, and they knew Will would deliver. They thought he would. He did.
From Came to Elevate, I believe every football game, home and away this season, has been a sellout. Has this ever happened before in K-State history? And what does it say about fan perception of this program around the Big 12?
That's spot on. I mean, it's not just that the home games have been sold out. Mm-hmm. That's happened. Every game has been sold out. Missouri game sold out. Tech, Oklahoma State, Texas, Kansas. They've all sold out. There's no way this has ever happened in previous years. No way. There's never been a convergence of so much respect in road games and interest in K-State in road games paired with great home turnout. Saturday, again, is not sold out. So get to the stadium. There's about 300 tickets left. There's all kinds of tickets. I volunteered to buy the 300 tickets for $1 a piece to get it to a sellout. But I would, I'd buy those tickets and donate them to Fort Riley and say, hey, have some families go have some fun time on Saturday in the snow.
People just want to listen to Brando. I think you're missing the point.
I know. Having Tim Brando broadcast into your house, having him part of your family for the holidays is significant.
There's no double deuce. There's no NUDK Uzuma.
Uzuma.
Thank you.
There's Uzuma.
In the new Big 12, I mean, now that K-State, Oklahoma and Texas, not K-State, Oklahoma and Texas are leaving the conference.
By season's end, that might be true.
Is K-State the new Nebraska, the new Oklahoma, the new Texas when it comes to the quote-unquote standard bearer of this conference? Every year, if you're a K-State fan in the past, what game has been that most expensive ticket on your season tickets? OU, Nebraska, Texas. I think K-State is now that team for the rest of the conference.
I agree. And part of that is fans travel. So, just like Kansas has done, you might as well gouge those K-State fans coming in to watch your game. But then again, that whole profile of K-State could change when those road games aren't Ames and Stillwater and, somewhere in Texas. They're in Utah, Arizona, Florida, Ohio. I mean, it's a mess, but I'm glad that the Big 12 made sure that K-State didn't play Iowa State every season in the next 4 years so that you can have 3 seasons with Cincinnati, because nothing says tradition like K-State Cincinnati.
I think
I'm bitter. I'm bitter about the Big 12 right now if you're not picking up the vibe.
I think when you look at the opportunity that K-State has next season, I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be a sellout every single game, but when you look at where K-State goes on the road, that Tulane game is going to be sold out. That's going to be a sellout. They will sell out that stadium.
If they play at their stadium.
As it's slotted to right now.
It's a new stadium. It's nice.
It's like 25K.
It might be 25,000, but
BYU has a chance to be sold out. They have a chance to sell out every game.
They might sell out anyhow, yeah.
Yeah, and then Colorado, I would think that game would be sold out too.
I do think enough K-Staters will go that game will sell out.
Iowa State, same type of deal.
Sure.
And then the only other two that you're looking at for road games would be West Virginia. And depending upon how West Virginia is, I think that's more dependent upon them. Houston, I would highly doubt. But K-State has an opportunity here to be just like you talked about, Zach. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get at is they're turning into that team. Oh, well, this team's really good. Like our team, if we beat them, it's going to be an upset, so we better go to the game.
Plenty of good tickets available for the Houston K-State game next year.
I thought you were going to try saying that K-State could sell out Houston Stadium and it's just a big purple wave. I strongly disagree.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that'll happen.
But there might be more K-Staters than Houston Cougars.
Yeah, there'll be more than 50.
Yeah.
From Ghost Day Kate, are the 2 best teams in the conference going to play for the championship?
Really? Where we put this in here?
You're looking at Zach.
I forgot to take my blood pressure medicine last night. Now I got to do this.
I'm going to say no, Fitz, before you answer.
Who are the 2 best teams?
Who are the 2 best teams?
I think it's K-State and Texas.
I think Texas for sure.
I think it's K-State and Texas because I think if K-State and Oklahoma play on a neutral site field, K-State wins that game. I don't think Oklahoma's physical enough in the trenches, and I think K-State has that offense figured out. I think Joe Klanderman knows how to stop
K-State
that offense.
Trash Oklahoma.
I think K-State beats Oklahoma on a neutral
And if
site.
K-State plays Oklahoma State again, they trash them.
Correct.
And unless I can't contain Ollie Gordon, which teams are now figuring out apparently. Look, I do think the two most potent teams in this conference, the teams that if you had to pick who you didn't want to play, would be Texas and Kansas State. But the losses do count for something. I'm not a fan of changing the rules midstream. That's been clear. But the tiebreaker that they addressed, that they clarified by changing, gets it right. It does get it right. It's not about, I've seen Oklahoma State fans, shouldn't this be? Well, it's not about that. It's about the fairness of changing rules upon which you agreed on in the preseason. You should have caught this in the preseason that the wording was bad. But no. I'm just going to say this out loud. There are too many ADs in this conference that are just slobbing all over Brett Yormark saying, what do you want? You want to play on the moon? Okay, we'll play all our games on the moon. I mean, come on, guys. At some point, we have to get back to running a conference and not expanding the footprint and expanding the reach, and all that's good. But the minutia of managing a conference day to day is falling off the edge of the table. This is not getting done. It's going to happen. The scenario that could happen if Texas loses and we end up with a 4-way tie or a 3-way tie, including Oklahoma, Kansas State, and Texas, they're going to screw this up. And they're not going to follow traditional tiebreaker rules. They're being very vague about it, not because they understand the rules and know that they're a little bit confusing. They don't either understand the rules or they have no concept of how tiebreakers work. And they're gonna botch this. And I'm telling you right now, if we end up in a 4-way tie, that game by tiebreaker rules is Texas and Kansas State. It is. You go to that criteria, you get two teams from that criteria, that's your game. Now you go back to the tiebreaker situation and figure out who's the top seed. You don't climb back up tiebreaker criteria once you move to another. You either restart the criteria because now you have a different set, or you progress down. The fact that the Big 12 doesn't seem to understand how tiebreakers work is just convincing me Brett Yormark has not hired college sports people in this office. They have no clue about college sports management, and it pisses me off. It's time the ADs and presidents take back control of this conference. Yes, he's doing a great job managing the future of this conference, getting good TV deals and all that. Be in charge of this conference, ADs, because you agreed on these tiebreaker rules. You signed off on these tiebreaker rules. Quit nodding your head yes and do your damn job.
I think if the championship game is K-State, Texas, I think we're all happy with that. I think if the championship game is Texas and Oklahoma State, they didn't play this year, I'm good with seeing that as a championship game. If it's K-State OU, I think we're all good with that. Bedlam, I don't think is possible to happen.
I don't either.
At this point. So really with the three, and I really do not want to see OU Texas. I think that K-State or Oklahoma State should be in the game. We should not get a Red River rematch.
Here's the deal, Zach. You got to ask Brett Yormark this. I don't know. I know you have him on speed dial. I don't know why I just addressed this to you.
Of course I do.
You know, here's where I'm at with this whole situation. It almost feels like Brett Yormark wants to see OU and Texas in the Big 12 championship game. Like, which is so weird, because he sits up there and he says, go take care of business, talking to Texas Tech when they go and play Texas. But he doesn't want them to take care of business because he wants to save his own face. That is literally the only reason why I think they want Texas and Oklahoma.
I don't sense that he wants Texas, Oklahoma.
I think Brett Yormark is very understanding that having two teams leaving the conference in the final championship game that they're members
is horrible.
That's going to leave a sour taste in the conference's mouth. and which is also why I think if Texas loses on Friday, and I think the Big 12 is being vague here, because if Texas loses, I believe K-State controls their own destiny on Saturday. It doesn't matter what Oklahoma State or what OU did previously on Friday, because you create that 4-way tie.
So what happens if both of them lose?
If OU and Texas,
Yeah.
or OU and Oklahoma State lose?
Or OU
That's
and
easy.
Texas. If OU and Texas both lose. Because then you would,
K-State,
Well, then
Oklahoma
you-
State, Texas, which you run the 3-way tiebreaker,
Yeah.
and K-State emerges.
Yeah, you run the 3-way tiebreaker.
Because Oklahoma State lost to Iowa State.
It doesn't
K-State
matter
and Texas did not.
that Oklahoma beat Texas. K-State didn't play Oklahoma, and it doesn't matter. You go to the 3-way tiebreaker, which picks, by the rules that they just changed, it picks Kansas State and Texas.
K-State benefited from having a harder schedule than the rest of the conference, at least the teams that are involved. Maybe outside of Texas, but OU and Oklahoma State, they did not play harder teams than K-State.
No.
It's a fact.
Zach, you know what we need to do before we move to this last question? You know what we need to do is we need to build like a parlay of each of these possible like outcomes before the game.
Sure.
And see what the actual odds and percentages are of what Vegas thinks will
that's
happen.
it.
I looked up what K-State's worst case scenario. You have Oklahoma State, Texas, and OU all winning minus 154 in a parlay.
So it's pretty low.
Coin flip, pretty close to.
Yeah, pretty good chances that will happen. So look, at the end of the day, the chances of them being in this corner and having to face the music and actually try to understand their tiebreakers is pretty low. But that's typically when this crap goes down. When you get caught with your pants down, that's when everything goes south. And I'm telling you, I'm going to be picking up the phone on Friday if I start to see Texas losing. It's because that's the essential step for. I mean, if Oklahoma and Oklahoma State lose, that's huge. I mean, that kind of sorts it out.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see both of them losing. I do see maybe Texas. Texas has played so close for so many weeks. It seems like they're due to not get it done. But look, let's see how it plays out. But man, I'm gonna hit the fan because I have studied tiebreakers my whole life. I've never seen tiebreakers like they're trying to run tiebreakers. You don't go to that second criteria to pick head-to-head, which in this case would be Kansas and Iowa State. If Kansas wins at Cincinnati, those are the best opponents. They'd be tied in the conference standings, so you use both. The best opponents all four have played. Credit to them. They played. They had a tough schedule. But now that benefits K-State because they and Texas would be 2-0 against those opponents. And I don't know what the others are. 0-2, 1-1, doesn't matter.
1-1.
1-1? So if you really want, if this was basketball and you needed to seed them out, you separate those two groups. The 2-0s are seeds 1 and 2, and these are seeds 3 and 4, and then you do tiebreakers among those.
Head-to-head. Yep.
You don't say, hey, we got these 4, but we're trying to get 1 to fill 2 slots out of this. And since these teams are tied, let's go back up to here and get a criteria that we already moved on from and apply it within this criteria, which the rules don't say. And then Texas moves, now you pick from the 3. I have never heard of that being done. Not once in my life have I witnessed that being done. And it sounds like that's what this damn conference thinks should be done. It's asinine. Any more?
Back to your mark.
Speaking
Last
of
question
asinine.
of the first half. Kevin 316 wants to know, with the terrible 4-year football schedule and now the smoke and mirrors tiebreaker clarification, is the Brett Yormark honeymoon over?
Okay, I've said this on other media. I said it on the Insiders. I said it with Pete Mundo on the Heartland podcast. Brett Yormark is Winston Churchill.
I was going to bring that up.
He is the wartime leader this conference needs. Without Churchill, England doesn't survive World War II. And without Brett Yormark, the Big 12 doesn't survive everything going on. Now, granted, the conference took some steps before. Once rid of Texas's, guiding hand, Bowlesby stepped up and did the right thing with these 4 expansion schools. But the TV contract, everything else the adding of the Western schools, Brett Yormark's been brilliant at war. And the whole expansion realignment thing isn't done. It might kick back in with the ACC or something else, or someone might come after Big 12 teams. We don't know. But this phase of realignment of college football, including this asinine, I like that word today, talk of a Power 2 semi-pro league, shut up with this. Shut up. Nobody will want that other than your fans. Maybe sports bettors. Just stop with that. It's just so unbelievable. Half those teams will lose half their games. I mean, half those teams are going to lose. Someone's going to lose the games. It's going to be horrible for those schools. Once you're through this, they need to move to a more of a college sports commissioner. Maybe this will go on for years, but I'll say this. Brett Yormark needs a deputy commissioner who's been hip deep in the college sports world for their career, and let them run the day-to-day. And you do your dreaming, your scheming, and you're bringing in new teamins. I liked it. It rhymed.
Stay scheming.
Yes, yeah. And then, do your thing. Grow this conference. Grow the revenue. Expand the reach. Expand us to Mexico and the moon. Let someone else run this conference on a day-to-day basis, because the people you've put in place is an absolute clown show.
Are you saying that K-State's AD should become the new deputy AD of the Big 12?
No, I want Chris Kleiman to stay here, and that's the only way he leaves is if Gene Taylor leaves. So, no, that's not it. That's not what I'm saying at all. Gene Taylor stays.
Not Tim Weiser.
No.
Tim Weiser. That was the reference.
Well, he retired.
Fitz, do you know who Anthony Eden is?
Yeah, he had a garden.
He was related to Bob Alamo.
He was the youngest foreign secretary in Great Britain's history. He subsequently became prime minister, succeeding Winston Churchill. Brett Yormark needs to become Anthony Eden, just somebody that you had no idea but helped keep the conference on track.
Need someone behind him, yep. And that's really, Churchill was flamboyant, said a lot of bombastic things, pissed people off, but he rallied and organized everyone to survive World War II.
And Bob Bowlesby is 100% Neville Chamberlain because he got played like a fiddle.
Yeah, absolutely. He was going to surrender.
I love all this World War II talk.
I know. That's it for the first half of this podcast. It went long. We apologize. We will try to be more brief in the second half and just say nice things about everyone.
GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat podcast continues after this short break.
Getting the crew together isn't as easy as it used to be. We get it. Life comes at you fast. But trust us, your pals are desperate for a good hang. And when they hear you stock the party with drinks from Drizzly, they'll be banging down your door. Let Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery, take care of the supplies. All you need is an excuse. It doesn't even have to be a good one. It's your dog's birthday. The loquats are finally ripe. Whatever. With Drizzly, you can compare prices on a massive selection of beer, wine, and spirits and get them delivered straight to your door. Which means you can entice the crew to leave their houses without ever leaving yours. Whatever the occasion, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
Welcome back to the PowerCat podcast.
Welcome back to the PowerCat Questions podcast. I took my blood pressure medicine, and I've calmed down greatly. No, I haven't. Let's move on to
second half will be relaxing.
Yeah, whatever. Let's move on to more questions from Wabash Station. But let me first remind you that if you have never visited Nirvana on Earth, you've never been to the fridge. It is both a little piece of heaven and the rock band you needed from the 90s. The Fridge Wholesale Liquor, Nirvana's 90s, right? Fridge Wholesale Liquor at the corner of this and that in the town in which we live. Great people. 7 people named Mike, though. Very confusing. But Kevin owns the place, and he's the important one. We love you, Kevin.
And 75% off.
Oh, I had 75% off a subscription to GoPowerCat.com. Right now is for Black Friday. I don't know why they call it that, but it is. It's a big sale. You can't miss it. If you miss it, well, I'm going to say it. Loser. Speaking of losers, let's give the questions back now to the other side of the table. Right. Oh, Cole Carmody's asking this half.
You said loser, so
Yeah.
He said losers with an S.
Loser.
Yes.
I think there was an R.
I love you guys.
From Itame BB, how important is the contract extension of Gene Taylor for the future of K-State athletics? Will that keep Chris Kleiman and Jerome Tang in Manhattan?
Certainly Kleiman. I mean, these guys are tight. They're really tight. It's not a normal AD coach thing. A lot of us are aware that they were friends before this all went down. A lot of people criticized him for hiring his friends. They're drinking buddies. You give these two yearly stipend of Busch Light and Fireball, and they're going to stay here forever. They'll just stay here and be happy.
And a golf membership somewhere.
Yes, they love it here. They both love it here. But yes, having Gene Taylor secured into the future is a big deal. He will be here until he's done ADing, and I think it's significant. He's been incredibly good for Kansas State. His management style has been a welcomed change from the previous one, but also I get leery of, I've said this before, of coaches' ADs. You know, they always kind of side with their coaches. But how that's played out is he goes out and hires people based on, yeah, he needs to know about, do you know the sport, all that, can you recruit? Yeah. But are you a good person that will fit at Kansas State University? Do you fit the culture? And if you do, that increases your chances of staying. And he's done an incredible job of that.
He hires coaches like the coaches recruit.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
he's built an incredible locker room within his athletic department.
Yep. I mean, I think that especially with Chris Kleiman, I went on some radio, it would have been last week, and it was right before the news of Gene Taylor got the extension, and obviously the Iowa athletic department's, or the Iowa AD job is open, and I don't know if that had anything to do with this extension. I'm sure maybe there might have been a little bit of pandering there, but they were asking me, I was like, no, like, he is a K-State guy. Like, when we think back about this time period of K-State athletics, sure, you're going to think of Jerome Tang, you're going to think of Chris Kleiman, but Gene Taylor is going to be talked about in that same conversation because of not just the coaches he's hired, but look at the volleyball facility. Look what they've done at the baseball facility. Look what they did with the indoor facility. I mean, all these things, like being an athletic director is so much more than just hiring coaches and having them succeed on the field. He is really, really good at his job.
No, he is.
And I don't want to discredit Gene Taylor's hiring, but the search firm that K-State has used for the last however many head coaches, because I'm certain they used it for volleyball too, but basketball, football for sure, they understand what K-State wants and what K-State needs in their head coaches. So credit to Gene for, I don't want to say outsourcing, but using the help that gets K-State the best possible coaches in Manhattan.
Let's clarify those. Search firms identify candidates. ADs pick the actual guy. So they've done a good job feeding him candidates. I mean, hell, last time it came for football, it came down to Chris Kleiman and Neil Brown. That's a pretty good pairing. But at the end of the day, he thought Neil Brown's Southern will probably want to get back to that area of the country. And Chris Kleiman, moving from Fargo, is like moving to the Bahamas if you've been in Fargo. So he loves it here.
I'd move there.
You're already in Manhattan.
I'd move to the Bahamas.
Okay, good. We'd like that.
Maybe some more sunscreen if I go, though.
Yes, you want to invest in that. You're very red in the cheeks, but I just think you're blushing.
You make me blush.
Yeah. Can we move on?
Are we ready for the next question?
Please move on.
Okay.
It's getting weird.
I know. Adam K63 wants to know, what's more impressive, winning 15 straight games in football over KU or KU's 31-game win streak in basketball over 11 years?
I'm going to say the basketball.
Really?
Yeah. You got to do it every year on the home court.
And sometimes on a neutral court.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, less than half of those games are on your home court. But it's also easier. Well, no, this is another reason why I think that's more significant. That's not a but. And it's easier to get good in basketball in a short period of time. Jerome Tang did it.
Hasn't always been like that.
No, K-State accepted mediocrity for 11 seasons.
Right.
When was the 31 straight wins? When did that take place?
Well, it came
until 2006. So
it
95,
it took
94.
Frank Martin to break it. So we're talking
Jim Woldridge.
Jim Woldridge, Tom Asbury.
No, Jim Woldridge broke it.
In
It
Lawrence, Woldridge broke it. And then
That's right.
Frank broke the Octagon of
God,
Doom.
those guys were here
Right.
forever. Yeah, Jim Woldridge and Tom Asbury, and then
It's crazy that K-State won twice in Lawrence before winning in Bramlage.
it's crazy.
Was there not a rule though that said that they didn't want people to leave they didn't want kids to leave your roster, and if they left your roster, you could only bring in so many kids. So, do you understand what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. It hamstrung K-State.
So that's why I'm saying now it's hard. It'd be a lot harder to have that winning streak now. But with football, I think that's actually more impressive, guys, because K-State is not a blue blood in football. They haven't been a blue blood in football. Has KU been really horrible at football? Yes, they have.
Yeah.
But there have been years where K-State has not been very good, and they still found a way to beat them.
But they hired such a string of losers.
They did.
But this streak started when Bill Snyder came out of retirement and just went back. Same old, same old. It was an ugly, awful football game. But they beat Mangino's Jayhawks in Manhattan, and off we go. It's still been going. It went right through Snyder 2.0, and now Chris Kleiman for 5 years. It's incredible.
Right now, it's still basketball for me, but that changes when you start having guys on the roster that have not been alive for a KU win in the series.
So 2 years.
I think that's where 3-4 years. When you get to 18, 19 wins, especially 20, if this streak hits 20 wins, absolutely more impressive than the 31-game streak.
I would agree.
It's going to get more impressive because KU
Especially
is
because,
finally respectable.
Right. KU is getting good. Yeah. They are finally going to actually start stadium renovations, I think this week, next week.
Should be started.
Yeah.
It should. Actually, it's holiday week. I'll give them that. Should start next week. I don't know when it does actually start.
But, yeah, I was surprised at how they were marking all the seats and tables that we were working on Saturday. These are going to storage on Monday.
Let me point out, and I didn't realize until I did my Sunday night TV show with my friend Michael Swain, who runs the KU site on 24/7, that they don't have a plan in place for next year. They haven't decided where they're playing their games. Half of their stadium will be gone or under construction. So they're trying to decide, do we play here and have half a stadium, which is weird. I don't even know how they do it.
So
the press box
it goes
is gone.
End zone to 50-yard line, and that's the other end zone, correct?
What? Yeah. You just play.
It's a 50-yard field.
Oh, I see.
That'd work, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they're taking off that west side and some of the end, but that's the press box, and that's not just for we see press box, but that's where the coaches sit.
Yeah,
that is their only premium indoor seating,
which is
at the stadium too,
with plumbing.
From the plans I've seen, they still aren't adding enough of that.
Right.
I mean, especially their market, you need to add more. You can get into the Kansas City market.
KU is a suites fan base, and that's not a dig at KU fans.
Sure.
Just that is the type of donor, the type of income, the type of person that comes over from Kansas City that goes to KU.
Shout out Johnson County.
Shout out Johnson County. But that is their core demo.
Great Walmarts. Never forget that.
That is their demo. Suites, loge, club seating.
Their choices are to play games in a gutted stadium that I don't know how they would host the games, or go to Arrowhead. I think they should go to Sporting for non-conference games, but that apparently is not happening. Lance Leipold wants them in Arrowhead, which I think is a mistake. I'd rather have them in a small stadium that's packed and rowdy.
There's a solution to all of this. It's in town. It's called Haskell.
Play at Haskell. I like it. Or, I'm thinking outside the box, we just remove Kansas from the Big 12 and add Haskell. Just off the top of my head. I'm just spitballing here. No, it's a mess.
You have to play at Arrowhead. I mean, you have to, right? Like, then that gets so confusing with the Chief States and, like, how are they going to...
Is Arrowhead willing?
That's what I don't know.
Because, like, I doubt Sporting's willing to host them because that's crunch time. It's playoff time. I don't know if you want to ruin that field or how many times you want to sod that field. The Chiefs play on natural grass, too. They don't want to resod that field more than they want to. I mean, I get that there's stadiums available, but also I don't know how much these stadiums would want to host, especially in soccer's case for Sporting KC, how much they would want to host a football game.
Do you know how funny it would be to see KU play in Manhattan for their home games?
I mean, I don't want to say it's not a possibility.
Do you know how funny
it's
that would
not
be?
a possibility,
Do
but
you know how
They'll
funny
play at
that
Memorial
would be?
Stadium,
but like
campus.
But really, how many other suitable stadiums in the area could KU play in if I mean, you'd have to swallow a lot of pride if you're KU to go play in K-State Stadium your home games for 2 years or at least a year.
Did Swain offer any insight?
There's no way that happens.
I think they're going to try to go to Arrowhead, but again,
Okay.
will the Chiefs allow that?
Right.
I mean, that you can't play a Saturday night game in Arrowhead in any kind of weather conditions, let alone the normal wear and tear on the field.
Yep.
And the Chiefs kick off early the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You certainly can't.
Yeah, Chiefs are never on the noon slate anymore.
That's a lot of truth to that. Yeah, you can't restripe the field. You can't. Let's be clear. You can have the hash marks. They're different for college and pro.
Yep.
You have to restripe the field.
I mean, you have to look at what Pittsburgh does,
Yeah, I was
what
gonna say, it's
USF
doable.
what USF does. It's not undoable, but again, Kansas City Chiefs and Arrowhead Stadium have to be willing to host.
Yeah.
But Pitt played against, I think, Boston College last Thursday, and there were like maybe 12 people there.
was
And it's just
horrible.
embarrassing
Right.
to see the empty seats.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I think playing in a smaller venue is so much more appealing. Make that a damn pit filled with students. Mm-hmm. Your big donors can go sit in the whatever suite areas and let the students just turn that into a devil's pit. But again, you get soccer. This gets back to my point. I really don't understand why they didn't explore building a new stadium. They could have been started on it. It could be a year build and then move into it.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of amazed at it.
Out by I-70. Mm-hmm. Like, why not?
All right, next question. From Snarecat3, will Naquan Tomlin solve the problems of the offense or just join in a flawed scheme?
So with the scheme is the scheme.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to change with or without Tomlin. Now, maybe they do some different things personnel-wise if he's on the court, if he's available, but the 5-out offense is what it is. So if that's what you're asking, no, right? It's going to be what it is. Obviously, he would help them score more points, but the offense is set in stone, and by and large, it is what it is.
I mean, they're getting open shots.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not a failed scheme if your players are missing the open shots. It's players missing open shots. That was just dreadful against Miami. It was awful to watch.
What does Tang always say? I hope we make shots.
Hope we make shots.
And they haven't made shots.
They made shots against South Dakota State, and that's been about it.
They played a tough schedule, guys. And I hate using that excuse, but they played USC, who's going to be a top 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. They played Miami, who was a Final Four team last year, who looked like a Final Four team again. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and worry about this basketball team because, obviously from an outsider's perspective, and Ryan, you've been at all the games, so you have a little bit better idea, but I don't worry about it until they start losing some conference games. I just don't.
Yeah.
Especially against, Miami. Like the main reason they lost that game was because of the first half. Okay, what went wrong in the first half? It was because they let Nigel Pack get going. Obviously, the 3-point shooting wasn't there. K-State missed its first 12 from beyond the arc, I believe. And so, while yes, that could have been better, I think that game was largely because of what K-State did defensively, not slowing down a superstar. And Jerome Ting even mentioned how they didn't do a good job in the game plan before halftime. After halftime, Pack, I think, had 6 points, give or take, and so K-State shut him down. The reason for this loss, of course, does it boil down to the missed 3-point shots? I guess to an extent, but they were open. They just didn't execute, and Tyler Perry's been heralded as the best 3-point shooter in America, right? If Tomlin does come back, he has that in his arsenal, right? Cam Carter's shown that this year. They've got guys that can score from beyond the arc. I'm not too concerned about those missed threes.
Naquan Tomlin will give them an athlete who plays above the rim, who electrifies their open court game. He will have an impact. And him putting the ball on the floor and getting into the paint will collapse defenses and do that. The reality is Tyler Perry has been disappointing.
Especially in the first half, guys.
He's awful. In the
Alarming numbers.
and he doesn't come nearly as equipped to create for his teammates as his predecessor, who was special. I get that. I'm befuddled by how poorly he creates and how poorly he finishes in the lane. This team has to learn where they can finish shots. I've seen more drives end with blocked shots in these 5 games than I remember last year. Take the ball to the hole and finish with authority, or don't take it. Don't take it into the lane if you can't do productive things with it. And this is going to be something they have to learn.
Sure.
And they'll get there. It's kind of a lump of clay. It might be a little bit harder to mold right now than he expected, but I think Jerome Tang and the staff will get them there. They coach their asses off at games. They're teaching constantly, and they're missing a couple key pieces. Because you can say what you want to, but they thought Glover would be Desi Sills or close to it, adding something.
Yeah, at worst, the 6th man.
Right, coming off the bench and giving you another veteran guard. And then they turn around and play the championship game without Day-Day Ames for an absolute BS ejection, I think. Yeah, he hit the other guy, but I think it was by accident. The forearm to the head was not by accident. He essentially got – look, they didn't stop play until the forearm. Mm-hmm. So that tells me that they didn't think there was anything out of the normal play during the game.
Right.
Even though they saw him clearly react to it.
Good point.
But they didn't stop the game.
Good point.
They went back and just called it even. Which is not how you're supposed to do it. You punish the guy that got hit. But yeah, that's another.
You're always told don't react when you get punched in the face, and Day-Day just, if he would have reacted and punched him back, then sure, eject him and have him miss multiple games. But he didn't do anything.
He did the Chicago thing. Oh, you hit me? That wasn't hard at all.
Right?
Yeah.
He just stared at him like, really?
That was it? That was all? You threw a forearm? Really?
So the rule is the rule, right? The way that he was punished is exactly right for the rule. The rule probably needs to be changed, and Ames should not have been, deemed to be in a fight in that game.
The problem was the application of the rule.
Yeah.
They should have ruled that this wasn't a 2-party fight. This was a 1-party fight.
Absolutely.
And they missed a foul. I mean, if it's a basketball move and you catch an elbow, it's not a foul. It's not a flagrant. This was a basketball move coming off of trying to get away from a man, and he apparently got either hit him or slapped him or poked him or something. That crap happens. But if you look at that replay and say, oh, it was intentional, you're seeing something I don't see. He did not look like he intentionally threw a fist at someone, which is fighting.
Ready for the last question?
I am so ready.
From I Like Pickles Cat. Well, you don't get a question. He says, no particular question, but I'm curious about your thoughts on volleyball and women's basketball. Some big wins from both programs in the last week.
Fun. It's amazing. Women's basketball is good.
They're really
people need to get out and watch them play.
Did you watch them on Sunday?
Yeah. I mean,
they're good.
Yeah, I watched what I could.
Yeah.
And it's impressive what's going on here. I mean, in volleyball, boy,
I don't think they've lost a set at home in a month. That's September, maybe.
That's 2 months. Yeah, it was go back to September. Yeah, since they've lost
it's insane.
A set, not a match.
Not a match, a set. They have swept every opponent at home.
Crazy.
And you can't convince me that would have happened last year.
It is coaching and the court.
I think it has as much to do with the arena as it does anything else.
It's a great atmosphere.
That everyone who's been said that is a pit. I mean, 4,000 seats of 3,500 seats of screaming fans.
And 5,000 fans at Bramlage on Sunday, too. Like, there was a lot of people at Bramlage to watch the women play Wisconsin. And I know Wisconsin doesn't have a good program, but, I mean, they just annihilated them. I cannot wait because this week they go down, and unfortunately they're on Flow Hoops. But they're going to have a chance to play with – they're going to have a chance if they win to play Iowa again. And they are on the opposite side of the bracket that they're in. So they could potentially see Iowa in the championship game of this tournament if –
Will Iowa be hiring the officials again?
Here's the deal.
Good for Flow Hoops.
Can you make an argument that if K-State beats Iowa again that they're a top 5 team in the country?
Could be. Folks are really good.
Did they release rankings?
16th.
They're 16?
16th.
I missed that.
They're better than that. Let that be known.
Okay, so I get this question all the time, and I'm just going to be blunt and upfront with this. If you want us to cover these things, what do we not cover? It's not like we're sitting around with a bunch of free time. We're covering what we can cover within our work time and honestly a budget. So what do we subtract out of that? But also, we have analytics that show us what you're interested in. And I'll be blunt here. I was impressed with how the YouTube daily delivery played on the Iowa upset. I mean, what did it end up around 3K?
Something like that.
Which is solid. But folks, we've done daily deliveries on volleyball and baseball, and they absolutely tank. We do coverage on the site once in a while, and it tanks. It just doesn't. People don't click it. No, you're just chasing clicks. No, it shows what people want to consume. It's a product.
But I tell you what, if women's basketball keeps winning,
we'll be there.
And if they are a top 5 team,
I don't know who. We'll hire someone to do it if we have to, but
we will cover K-State women's basketball.
I mean, absolutely. I told, I think it was Brad Hill when his first year, he goes, can we get you to come cover baseball? I told him this, and he smiled and said, I actually understand that. We don't lead anyone to anything. We follow the fans. Mm-hmm. This is up to you. I mean, if this is really something you're interested in, we'll be there. We'll see how it plays. But I'm going to be watching a lot of K-State women's basketball from here in the studio this season because I'm pretty busy already, and I've got a big screen right here. I will have them up because this team isn't only good, this team's fun to watch. Fun to watch. That's it for this edition of the PowerCat Questions podcast. We'll have all of your normal coverage. Everything. We're not cutting anything off because it's Thanksgiving. We'll have the pregame podcast. We'll have the Friday walkthrough. I can guarantee you that because we're literally getting ready to record that. We'll have Ryan Gilbert annoying me. That's a staple. We'll have all of his coverage that normally drops on Thursdays. So the bet on it, behind enemy lines, all of that stuff will still be there. We're not stopping for Thanksgiving dinner. Well, actually, we will stop for that. But we're just pressing on, covering K-State sports for you. And you can get Go PowerCat for 75% off right now. When this podcast ends, you head over there, click that green join button, and get it done.
Thank you for listening to the PowerCat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Rise and shine, football fans. This is Susanna Fuller from Morning Footy, a podcast part of the CBS Sports Golazo Network covering the breadth of the global game. Join me, Nico Cantor, Charlie Davies, Alexis Guerreros, and guests every morning for the perfect blend of news, analysis, conversation, and exclusive interviews. If you love soccer, then look no further. We've got you covered for Europe's top 5 leagues, the W Gold Cup, the Champions League knockout stage, CONCACAF Nations League, NWSL, MLS, transfer news, and much more. Download and follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere podcasts are found. Subscribe to Morning Footy.
The drama.
They're having to be separated. They've both been shown the red card.
The entertainment. The superstars. Welcome to the Planet Premier League podcast. I'm Mark Chapman, and every week, Cesc Fabregas, Nader Manua, and myself talk all things Premier League.
They have this dynamism and this quality that they can play anywhere. They need to prove themselves in scoring more and more goals.
I think if they don't win the title this year, the season is a failure in the league.
Planet Premier League. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.